Hello and welcome to our session on GRAITEC ERP SYNC, our cloud application that synchronizes financial project data between Autodesk Build and ERP. I'm joined today by a panel of speakers, including myself, Gary Edwards, Senior Director at GRAITEC, my colleague Stuart Smith, Solution Technical Manager. We're also joined by Samantha Zhang, co-founder of Agave, and Tim Kelleher, Innovation Manager at Brinkman Construction. Looking at the agenda, I'm going to start things off with a few slides on ERP SYNC. We'll then move to a live Q&A session between Agave and Brinkman Construction to talk firsthand around their experiences implementing Autodesk Build, cost management, and setting up the integration to CMIC. We'll then show this firsthand so you can see data objects moving between those two platforms. And we'll finish things off with some more Q&As, best practices, and some potential next steps. To kick things off, I'm going to say a statement. How well cost activities are communicated, managed, and executed determines a project's financial outcome. And when you look at a project manager today on a construction project, they are managing numerous tasks from things like budgets, cost codes, payment applications, RFIs, change orders and the potential impact on cost, even down to forecasting and providing these in an accurate and timely manner. Now, if managed poorly, there are big hurdles to overcome, and we see things like cost overruns, delays, compromise on quality, which could ultimately lead to disputes. And when you look at traditional process, we often see a lot of project managers using their ERP accounting system. Now, this is great for the overall accounting of the organization, but may not necessarily be the best product for project managers or field managers or people in the field to be using. And we often see that ERP systems are not very good at external collaboration. For example, enabling subcontractors to interact, and nor would you probably want to. This means information is outside the ERP, and we have to get that in. So that's manual duplicate data entry, which could lead to errors. And this lack of real-time data could have an impact on cost-related risk. Now, most of you on here today are familiar with the Autodesk Build environment and the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Many of you may be using this technology. And when we see traditional usage, we look at things like document management, project management with RFIs, submittals, quality with issue management and punch lists, and safety. But what we're seeing more and more of today is now cost management inside of Autodesk Build, from creating or importing budgets, managing change orders, receiving payouts and dealing with them, even down to forecasting. These tools are now inside of Autodesk Build. And we can see the benefit of having a single environment for all of this. We get better control of costs, we have streamlined cost workflows and enhanced collaboration, as Autodesk Build allows external collaboration, improved forecast accuracy, being that single source, and having real-time visibility on cost-related risk and the overall project's financial health. Now, I hear you all saying, we like Autodesk Build, we see the value in the fields teams using cost management, but we also have our ERP. And we have some concerns with duplicate data entry. This could lead to mistakes and inaccurate reporting, confusion, compliance, and delays. And this really is where GRAITEC ERP SYNC sits. Powered by Agave, our cloud application synchronizes financial data between your project management software and your ERP accounting. And here's just a look at some of the data objects that we start to move about. For example, vendor information and project information will be in your ERP, so we need to get that across to Build. Contracts, subcontracts, change orders will come from Build, and we need to get that back into your ERP. And as you can see, we support a wide range of ERP systems commonly used in construction today. This means, with the integration, that we can start to streamline workflows, field teams will use Autodesk Build. This helps to improve collaboration, especially with subcontractors, gain a tighter control of cost through better visibility, and with accurate real-time data, improve forecasting. I'm now going to pass you over to Samantha and Tim for a live Q&A on Brinkman Construction's experience implementing Autodesk's cost management and setting up the integration with CMIC. Samantha, Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Gary. Like Gary mentioned, I'm Samantha, co-founder at Agave. We're the technology provider for the ERP Sync product. I'm here with Tim from Brinkman, who's our customer for the technology that's powering Data Connect today. Tim, do you want to give a quick intro of yourself as well?
Hi, my name is Tim Kelleher. I am the Standards and Innovation Manager at Brinkman Construction. We are a US-based general contractor in Fort Collins, Colorado. We are using the Sync tool to move data between Autodesk Build and CMIC and hope to share some of our experiences with you today.
Thanks, Tim. Now I'm going to ask Tim a series of questions about their journey, adopting Autodesk Cost Management, picking us as the vendor for Sync, how's our solution working for them, and what's in the plans for the future. Hopefully this will give you an overview of what it's like to use our product. So Tim, first question, why did you adopt Autodesk Cost Management?
We adopted Autodesk Cost Management as an overall goal of simplifying our processes. We wanted less overall systems and steps in what we did day to day. Before we implemented Autodesk Cost Management and Build, we were using different pieces of software for QA/QC, safety, drawing management, and another piece for project management and financial management. To top it off, we had numerous spreadsheets to augment each process for each piece of that pie to function correctly. This was way too confusing for our end users due to the number of systems and spreadsheets, which were very difficult to manage and too easy to manipulate, which led to many different versions being utilized across our projects, unintentional errors, and undesired outcomes. The flexibility of the cost module specifically allowed us to consolidate these processes, but get the information that we needed.
Great. And then why did you need a Sync solution?
For us, a Sync solution is a non-negotiable requirement for having Autodesk Cost Management as a part of our technology stack. Having the ability to have information seamlessly flow from our accounting system into Autodesk so that we have the most accurate cost to date is vital to make sure that we are forecasting off the most current information, and also making sure that as contract amounts change between subcontracts or contracts, that information is transmitted as accurately as possible to our accounting team on a reliable basis is key to make sure this solution works and that we can have confidence that the information in each system is correct.
Cool. Can you talk through what were the key features you were looking for?
There are two key features we were looking for with the Sync tool. The first and most important is reliability. Finances on a construction project are too important to fail. Every time there's a mistake, there's high potential for us to lose money, and to lose money because of an error in a system is something we strive to eliminate and minimize as much as possible. And a Sync tool is a very, very critical part of ensuring that we have a reliable system to work with. The second part of this that's equally as important and somewhat related is ease of use. If it's too complicated, if it's too hard, if there's too many options to use, it will lead to inconsistent results and also really hurt our ability to reliably manage the finances of our projects.
Great. So why did you end up picking our solution?
We chose Agave because they were the first and so far only company that we have found that was willing to tackle the challenge of integrating Autodesk Cost Management and CMIC.
Cool. And question number 5, how's our solution working for you?
Agave solution is working great for us. It's super flexible to get the flows to move in the direction we need them to go in, but it also has a lot of control. We get to determine when information flows, and if it's automated, we can determine how often. The interface has the ability to show what has and hasn't moved and gives us the tools to see what has happened, so we have a complete picture of what happened and when.
Thanks, Tim. Now, to show you how the tool works in action, we have prepared a short demo.
Thanks, Samantha. Some really great insights there. I'm now going to show you with ERP Sync how we can link projects between Build and our ERP, how we can sync vendor and budget codes from our ERP to Autodesk Build. We'll then create a budget and contracts using some of this information and sync it back to the ERP. And then finally, we'll look at how we can sync cost details like payment applications back to Autodesk Build to give our project team better visibility of costs. On screen, we've got a couple of windows for our demo. Top left, we've got Autodesk Build Cost Management. Top right, we have our ERP, which is CMIC. And at the bottom, we have our application ERP Sync, which is what we're using to synchronize data between these two platforms. How do we get started? Well, it's really simple. We first need to create linked accounts to the systems that we want to sync data between. We're going to create a new config and start with our ERP system. We go through the authentication system, selecting the system. We provide credentials for our CMIC platform to authenticate with. We then add our project management account, which is Autodesk Build, authenticate with that platform. Choose our hub. And we have both systems added and linked. With the systems defined, it then shows us the data objects that we're supporting by default. You'll see that we have vendors, projects, and budget codes syncing from CMIC to Autodesk Build. We typically see our ERP system is the central source of truth for information like our vendors, projects, and budget code. So we want this critical information going to our project management system. And similarly, by doing this, it means that our project teams can stay in Autodesk Build Cost Management and create their budget, subcontracts, and change orders. We have this information syncing from Build to CMIC. We have cost details coming into our ERP system that we need to make available to Autodesk Build items like our budget, subcontracts, and change orders. So we have this syncing from our ERP to Autodesk Build. I also wanted to mention that we can automate the synchronization of data on an hourly or daily cadence. Simply specify which objects that we want to automate. Just keep that in mind during the demonstration because we'll be syncing a lot of data manually, but it can be automated. Last step is for me to save this config and then we're ready to start syncing data. Let's go to vendors in ERP Sync. What we see on screen are all the vendors from our ERP system. And we want to start synchronizing this with Autodesk Build. What we can also see in ERP Sync is any item that we've previously synced, when, with the option to unlink or update. Now, we could choose to synchronize all of our vendors in one operation, and the system will actually pick up any vendor that already exists in Autodesk Build. And what it's saying is I can create a link between these items, so 7 in total, and there are 244 vendors that it's going to create. Now in this example, we just want to synchronize a single vendor. Let's do a search. I'm looking for a concrete company, and I found it here. Before we sync this item, let's have a quick look inside of Autodesk Build. We're going to search the company. It's yielded no results, so we know the vendor doesn't exist. Let's return back to ERP Sync, and we're now going to do a push. So in a simple click, we can synchronize that individual vendor back to Autodesk Build, and we get immediate feedback to show us it's been successful. If we return to Autodesk Build, we're going to do a search. We can see the company has been created, along with all of the important critical metadata like the ERP company ID, the location, and any other metadata associated within our ERP system. The next step is projects. Now, I've already got a project created in my ERP system, and I've also created a project within Autodesk Build. Let's go to projects within ERP Sync. This is showing me all my projects from my ERP system. So whilst I could push this project, which would create it in Autodesk Build, because I already have one, I can use the Sync to option. This actually lets me map my ERP project to an existing project within Autodesk Build. I get a confirmation dialog, and if I click yes, those two projects are linked. So it's really quick and easy to link existing projects. With the project linked, we can now start syncing project-specific objects, starting with budget code. Now in the ERP system, we've already assigned cost codes to the project. In Autodesk Build, we do not have a budget code format defined. From ERP Sync, if we select the project, it will load in the budget code format from our ERP system, which actually consists of 3 segments: the job number, the phase code, and the category code. And it also shows you any other included formats like delimiters and lengths. As we scroll down, we can see a preview of what we're going to get, so that what the job number is, what the available phase codes and category codes, with anything that will not come through. And we can synchronize this with Autodesk Build in the click of a button and create our budget code format. We get immediate feedback when that synchronization is complete. And if we go across to Build and refresh, we'll see the budget code format has been defined. We have the job number, the phase code, which is actually nested items, so it's brought through the full structure, and the category codes. Now I have the budget code format defined. Let's create a budget. I've already prepared one for import. Let's go ahead and bring this in. Let's go back to ERP Sync where we can view the budget. Whilst our application is refreshing data, let's go to the ERP and load the budget. And we can see the budget is empty. Okay, great. What we can also see in the budget line items is all of the critical budget information along with the total, and we could validate this information against Autodesk Build. Once we're happy, we can synchronize the budget, and we're going to do a sync all or push all. And whilst that's syncing, we can refresh the budget in CMIC. And we can see that it's already being populated with information. And we can see the notification in the background that 21 items have been successfully synced. Now we have the budget fully synced, we can start syncing other cost-related items like subcontracts. For the purpose of the demo, we've gone ahead and created a contract, which we've executed. We've already assigned a budget line item. The type has been assigned as subcontract. You'll also notice we're using the supplier that we created earlier in the demonstration. And we've also created a schedule of values, and we've assigned some sub-items, so phase 1 and phase 2 of the project. Within CMIC, we've also loaded up the subcontracts page, and you'll notice that we currently have no subcontract records. We'll return to ERP Sync and go to our subcontracts. We can see our subcontract loaded with all of the relevant metadata, and we can sync with our ERP system. Let's go to CMIC and refresh. You can see the subcontract has been created. We'll go into the subcontract and we can see all of the relevant information has been populated. Vendor contract information. But not only that, we have the schedule of values, so the individual sub-items with all of the related costs and other associated metadata like job, phase, and category codes. In this final part, we're going to create a request for payment from CMIC and sync it to Autodesk Build. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to pre-populate the request for payment to speed up the process. We can see that we've entered a supplier, the same supplier we synced at the beginning of the demo. We're using the contract that we synced to CMIC, and we've also entered an amount for payment. We're now going to post this payment. We first need to put in a posting date, and posting is complete. Let's check that now. In CMIC, we can see the request for payment has been created with all the relevant metadata. Now let's go to Autodesk Build and check this. When we go to the cost payment application, we can see it is not populated. We're now going to go to ERP Sync and to AP Payments. When this refreshes, it will show us the record we created, our payment application, and we can sync this to Autodesk Build. Once that's complete, we get immediate feedback to show us it's successful. And if we refresh Autodesk Build, we can see the payment application has been created with all of the relevant cost details. And we can go into this in more detail and see that the schedule of value items have also been created with all the relevant cost details.
Thanks, Stuart. Now back to you, Tim. What is in the plans for the future?
Looking into the future, we're looking at developing deeper integrations with the prime contract invoicing side of our integration so that we can have build-to-date costs updated more easily in both systems. We're also looking at revising our invoice approval workflows. Today, invoice approval is happening in CMIC, and we're looking to move that to Autodesk Build and move approved invoices from Autodesk into CMIC.
Great. Now to close it out, we've talked about a lot today. Let's say someone's looking to adopting cost management and the sync solution. What advices can you give them?
The cost management module provides connections within the data like we were not used to seeing, and flexibility to create custom columns to show information how you want to see it. To really leverage this, you need to dig deep and really understand what you want from each process. And not just basic information, but it can really bring data together in ways which will expose trends and outcomes sooner in your financial management processes than before.
Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Tim. Some really interesting points there to consider when setting up your integration between Autodesk Build and ERP. So in this session today, we've touched on why projects and field teams and operational teams should be using Autodesk Builds instead of their ERP. Autodesk Build today offers an extensive range of capability from document management, project management, quality, safety, project closeout, and as we've discussed, cost management, things like budgets and change orders and payment applications, forecasting can be done. Now, this arguably is their single source or their single environment, which helps to reduce spreadsheets and some of that confusion that goes with that. GRAITEC ERP SYNC supports a wide range of ERPs in the market today. We've spoken about CMIC, we support Viewpoint Vista, Foundation, Sage, and more. And when you look at some of those data objects, we're moving things like vendor information, projects, cost codes, change orders from Autodesk Build to ERP and back. So for those of you that are interested, what do some of the next steps look like when setting up an integration? Well, today we've given you a very brief demo. I'm sure you want to see a little bit more. We then move on to a discovery, and this is a really key stage for us because this helps us to create a statement of works. Now, when you look at those steps, we've got the discovery, the review, the testing and the feedback, and the optimization. Now, for us, the discovery is a really key stage because what you tend to find is that between 80 to 100%, in some cases, it's an out-of-the-box type solution. But what we tend to find as the conversations progress is some element of customization, because everyone is unique and even no two ERPs are the same. What do possible customizations look like? Well, you may want a different direction of data flow. You may need a different value option, or you might want some objects adding or taken away. But it's really the discovery stage that helps us to capture a lot of this in order to set the right expectations. Now, off the back of a discovery, this is an example of an integration mapping that you will get at a high level. But beneath each of these objects, there are more details, but at a high level, this is the information that we're potentially moving from an ERP system, and in this case, its foundation, to Autodesk Build. And what does some of that information look like from Autodesk Build back to the ERP? So again, when we do that discovery with the key stakeholders, we can really get to understand what these data flows look like and provide you with that statement of works, which we all agree to and we work to. And when it comes to the rollout, we follow a very stringent process. At the end of the day, we're dealing with financial data. Okay, so we must ensure that we get it right first time. So we go through this onboarding process where we launch the configurations in phases. You may choose to prioritize which come first, and it's really a case of taking on board those configurations or the data syncs, testing those syncs and validating those syncs prior to a rollout. So it's not uncommon to see a launch 1, launch 2, even a launch 3. As these integrations are fed through, you will then go and test them and validate them, ensure that they work before we go live on a project. But of course, GRAITEC are here to help you every step of the way. We will help to support your Autodesk estate as well as your integration. So that brings us to an end. We hope that the session has been informative. We've touched on Autodesk's cost management. We've touched on the integration. I'd like to say a special thank you to Agave and Brinkman Construction for joining us today and really talking about their first-hand experiences. You know, we can always tell you, but until you hear it from a customer directly, that the real value they're getting, I think that means a lot. So we hope you had a good session. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat. We're going to stay on for a bit and answer any of those questions that we can, or alternatively, contact us afterwards and we'd be more than happy to help. Thank you.